Hey fam, come here, close the door behind you, and lock it, because what I am about to lay on your timeline today is the kind of story that only detonates once a decade, and today is the day the fuse finally hits the powder. Listen close, sweetheart, if your name is Cardi B, I already know you woke up this morning, walked past the mirror, glanced at your own reflection, and thought to yourself, not today, universe, not today, because the internet has spent the last 72 hours doing forensic autopsies on your denim, your body, your man, your money, your motherhood, and your entire hip-hop legacy all at the same time. Before you type it in the comments, I already know what you are about to say. You are about to say, but she is winning, she has the Old Navy bag, she has 4 diamond plaques, she has the man, she has the crib, she has the kids, she has the chain. And I hear you. I really do hear you. But peep this, winning does not silence the receipts, and today, the receipts are stacked so high you can see them from space. Cardi B, girl, I need you to grab a stool, pour yourself something cold, and let us walk through this together, because what happened this week is not a scandal, it is a symphony, and every single instrument in the orchestra is playing a note that either lifts you higher than any female rapper has ever gone in the history of American music, or it drops you into a canyon that not even a diamond-encrusted parachute can save you from. This is not a hit piece. This is not a hater's paradise. This is a public unraveling, and Cardi B is standing dead center in the middle of it, holding a pair of $5 denim shorts in one hand and a court subpoena in the other. Let us rewind the tape, because you cannot understand where Cardi B is right this second unless you understand the 24-hour window that just detonated around her. It started with a launch party. Old Navy, yes, the same Old Navy where your auntie buys her 4th of July flag tee, decided to plant its entire fall denim campaign on the shoulders of Cardi B, making her the face, the voice, the body, and the brand of what they are calling Most Wanted Denim. That is a big deal. Old Navy does not hand billion-view campaigns to just anybody, and choosing Cardi B was not an accident, it was a calculation. They wanted the Bronx. They wanted the mouth. They wanted the hips. They wanted the noise. And on paper, they got everything they paid for. But the internet, being the internet, immediately did what the internet always does. It looked at the campaign, squinted, and said, wait a minute, does Cardi B even shop at Old Navy? And that single question, that one lazy, low-effort, comment section question, became the spark that lit a fire Cardi B was going to have to walk into and put out with her own 2 hands. Because critics were not just saying she was a hypocrite. They were saying she was a fraud. They were saying she was pretending. They were saying she was cashing corporate checks for a brand she would never wear in real life. And if you know anything about Cardi B, you know she is not going to sit on a rumor like that. She is going to grab her phone, log onto live, and eviscerate it in real time. And that is exactly what she did. Cardi B hopped on live from the Old Navy Most Wanted launch party, camera in hand, and she said something that made every plastic surgeon in Miami stand up and applaud. She said, and I want you to sit with this for a second, that because of her BBL, her body sculpting, her surgical silhouette, the shape she paid for and is now paying for again in denim, she genuinely cannot fit into most designer jeans. She said the only high-end brand that even accommodates her is Acne Studios, and outside of that, her go-to labels are Old Navy, Gap, and Fashion Nova. She said, quote unquote, I am 5'3", I am skinny, I got no waist, and my hips is the size of Uganda. And I want the entire fashion industry to sit up straight, take a deep breath, and understand what she just did. Cardi B just admitted, on a live broadcast, that the entire luxury denim industrial complex does not build for the body type that dominates urban American beauty standards. She admitted that Balenciaga, that Louis Vuitton, that Gucci, that every one of those Parisian ateliers that spends Fashion Week congratulating itself on diversity, none of them actually cut a pair of jeans that fit a woman with a surgical waist-to-hip ratio. And instead of hiding that, instead of pretending, Cardi B told the truth. She said Old Navy fits. She said Gap fits. She said Fashion Nova fits. And then she said, and I quote, I am going to go live one day and I am going to go to Old Navy and prove it to y'all. Yeah, okay, Cardi. We will believe it when we see the receipts. But even so, that is the kind of authenticity that money genuinely cannot buy. Now, if the story ended there, this would be a feel-good marketing win. Cardi B stands up for her body, defends the brand, sells out the jeans in 24 hours, and everybody goes home happy. But this is Cardi B we are talking about, and stories about Cardi B never end where they should end. They always keep going. They always keep unraveling. There is always another thread hanging off the sweater, and if you pull it, the whole thing comes apart. Because while Cardi B was on live celebrating denim, defending her body, and dancing to her own music at the Old Navy party, she leaned into the camera, mid-verse, and dropped a line that I do not think she realized would get clipped, screenshotted, dissected, and turned into the biggest gossip firestorm of the week. She said, and I want you to picture this, she is at the launch, she is bouncing on the beat, and she says she is not worried about none of these dudes, except one. One. Just one. And every single Cardi B watcher who has been tracking her post-Offset dating chessboard sat up straight, opened a new tab, and typed one name into the search bar. Muka. Or if you want to spell it the way the internet has been spelling it, Mduka. Because ladies and gentlemen, that, except one, was not a random poetic flourish. That was a public relationship confirmation dressed up as a bar. That was Cardi B, on live, telling the world that her heart is currently parked in the driveway of a certain international soccer star, and the internet immediately did what the internet always does. It went digging. And what the internet found, sweetheart, was not pretty. Because Muka comes with luggage. Not carry-on luggage. Not one of those cute little rolling weekenders. We are talking cargo ship container level luggage, and every single one of those containers has a receipt taped to the side of it. His baby mother, the woman who shares a child with him, has publicly alleged that Muka put her and their child out, and that on top of that, according to her, he put his hands on her. Now, I am not going to sit here and tell you whether those allegations are true or false, because I was not in that house, I was not in that hallway, and I was not in that argument. But I will tell you this, those allegations exist, they are documented, they are on the internet, and Cardi B knew they were there before she leaned into that camera and dropped, except one. Which brings us to the question that is currently melting the servers at every gossip site on the internet, does Cardi B have a type? And if she does, is that type dangerous? Let us take inventory. Before Muka, there was Offset. Before Offset, there was a whirlwind of situationships that Cardi B has openly discussed on her own platforms. Between Offset and Muka, there was the entire Stefon Diggs interlude, which, and I am going to be gentle here, did not end with a friendship bracelet. There were baby mothers speaking out. There were court cases pending. There were assault allegations from an accuser named Christopher Blake Griffin that Cardi B publicly attempted to dismiss, only for those allegations to metastasize into an even bigger legal storm. And now, right on the heels of all of that, she is publicly signaling a new man who arrives on the scene with his own bouquet of red flags. That is not coincidence. That is a pattern. And listen, before the die-hard Barty gang comes into my comments section swinging, I want to say this clearly. Cardi B is a grown woman. She is 30 plus, she is a mother of 4, she is a self-made $100 million mogul, and she is fully entitled to date whoever she wants, whenever she wants, on whatever balcony she wants. The problem is not that Cardi B is dating. The problem is that Cardi B, arguably the most influential female rapper of her generation, is a walking blueprint for millions of young women who watch her, mimic her, quote her, and model their choices after hers. And when the blueprint keeps landing on men with the same silhouette of drama, that becomes a cultural conversation, whether Cardi B likes it or not. Now here is where the plot thickens like week-old grits. Because during that same launch party live, Cardi B did something that made the entire hip-hop underground stand up and take notes. She started explaining the origin story of a song from her new project. And the song, from what she described, is called Aha. And the story behind Aha, according to Cardi B herself, is not a love song, is not a party anthem, is not a girl power ballad. The story behind Aha, according to Cardi B, is a message to every woman who ever thought they had one up on her because they were sleeping with a man who used to belong to her. Let me repeat that. Because I want it to sink in. Cardi B wrote a song aimed directly at the women who have been messaging with, sleeping with, DM sliding with, or claiming any kind of stake to the men she has previously dated. And the message of the song is essentially this: you should not be mad that you got him, you should be mad that I moved on and I am winning. Cardi B said, and I am paraphrasing here so I do not put words in her mouth that she did not say, that her get back, meaning her revenge, her comeback, her cosmic karma, is her watch, her new house, her chain with the 4 diamonds representing her 4 children, and her overall thriving. That, sweetheart, is not a diss track. That is a mission statement. And you can hear the tectonic plates shifting under Cardi B's discography, because for years, critics said she could not write introspection, she could not write vulnerability, she could not write from a place of real pain. And now here she is, writing a song where the pain is not disguised, it is centered, it is the whole point. She said out loud that the women who have been trying her while she was on tour did not hurt her because they got the man. They hurt her because they thought getting him meant winning. And her rebuttal to that is essentially a shrug and a chain. I am the woman he used to have, and now I have the diamonds, the crib, the kids, the record deal, and the peace of mind. What did you actually win? And the entire internet, including me, had to sit down. Because that is a level of self-possession that Cardi B has been building toward her entire career, and she just handed it to us in a single verse. But here is the twist. And I promise you, every time you think this story is done, another door opens. Because right in the middle of all of this, the Old Navy campaign, the BBL denim defense, the Muka reveal, the aha origin story, the RIAA quietly dropped a bulletin that rewrote the history books. Cardi B has officially become the first female rapper in the recorded history of the United States of America to earn 4 diamond certified singles. 4. Not 1. Not 2. Not 3. 4. Let that number breathe for a second. Because to earn a diamond certification from the Recording Industry Association of America, a single has to move the equivalent of at least 10 million combined units in sales and streams. That is not a viral moment. That is not a hot summer. That is not a lucky sync placement. That is a decade of dominance, compressed into 4 songs. And those 4 songs, for the record, are Bodak Yellow, the 2017 breakout that turned a reality TV Bronx personality into a chart-topping rap phenomenon. I Like It, featuring Bad Bunny and J Balvin. Girls Like You, her Maroon 5 collaboration that quietly became one of the best-selling pop songs of the decade. And WAP, her Megan Thee Stallion collaboration that broke Spotify records the week it came out and has been printing money ever since. 4 diamond plaques. From one woman. From one Bronx apartment. From one Instagram live that went viral in 2015 and set every subsequent domino in motion. And I want you to appreciate something about this milestone that most commentators are not appreciating. Cardi B was already the first female rapper to earn a single diamond certification. She was already the first female rapper to earn multiple diamond certifications. Now she is the first female rapper to earn 4. She is not chasing history. She is authoring it. Every threshold she crosses, she becomes the one holding the pen. And every subsequent female rapper who wants to climb this specific mountain is going to have to climb through her shadow. That is legacy. That is not luck. So now let us zoom back out and look at the whole board. In a single 72-hour window, Cardi B has anchored a national denim campaign for one of the biggest retailers in America, defended her body publicly against internet criticism, subtly confirmed a new international relationship, invited more scrutiny of her romantic pattern, released the origin story of what appears to be one of the most personal songs of her career, and become the first female rapper in United States history to earn 4 diamond certified singles. That is not a week. That is a career arc. And she compressed it into 3 days. Which is precisely why the peanut gallery does not know what to do with her right now. Because the same critics who spent Monday morning saying Cardi B is a fraud for representing Old Navy had to spend Tuesday afternoon watching her sell out the collection in less than 24 hours. The same commentators who spent Wednesday questioning her dating choices had to spend Thursday watching her drop the most emotionally mature verse of her career. And the same skeptics who spent this entire year saying her cultural relevance was declining had to spend Friday watching the RIAA hand her a plaque that no woman in the history of American rap has ever held. That is what winning looks like. Winning does not mean the noise stops. Winning means the noise cannot slow you down. Now, if you want to understand why the Old Navy denim controversy hit so hard, you have to understand the deeper conversation it is really about. It is not really about jeans. It is not really about brand loyalty. It is about a much older, much uglier conversation about which bodies get to be celebrated in mainstream fashion, and which bodies get pushed to the margins. For decades, high fashion has treated the surgical curves, the BBLs, the hourglass silhouettes, the exaggerated hip-to-waist ratios, as some kind of aesthetic inconvenience. Runways were built for the willowy. Denim was cut for the linear. The women whose bodies matched Cardi B's silhouette were told, over and over, that they had to lose the curves to shop the couture. And Cardi B, on live, in a 5-minute rant that will probably get studied in fashion school one day, called that entire industry out. She said, without saying it directly, that the designer world does not build for her body because the designer world does not respect her body. And that mass retailers like Old Navy, Gap, and Fashion Nova stepped in and built the denim that the luxury houses refuse to build. That is a statement. That is an indictment. That is a shot fired straight at the heart of the fashion establishment. And it just so happens to double as the greatest possible marketing pitch for the brand paying her check. Coincidence? Or the sharpest strategic instincts in modern celebrity endorsement history? I know where I land. I think Cardi B, whether she planned it or not, just handed Old Navy the campaign of the decade. Because now every woman who has ever been told her body is too much for high fashion has a reason to walk into Old Navy this weekend and buy the exact jeans that Cardi B said fit her. That is not endorsement. That is emancipation with a price tag. But let us not skip past what she said about being a mother, because that thread deserves its own spotlight. Cardi B took a moment during that same live to address the criticism that she does not dress like a normal mom at her children's events. And her response was surprisingly grounded. She said, essentially, that she already stands out at school events, that she does not want to add to the attention by wearing skin-tight fits, and that she deliberately covers up when she is around her kids in public because she does not want the other parents whispering about her babies. She said, and this line stuck with me, I don't ever want to do that to my kids. That is a version of Cardi B that the internet does not talk about enough. The version that thinks about how her image affects her children's lunchroom social life. The version that dresses down so her daughters do not have to defend her at recess. The version that understands that being famous does not exempt you from the private embarrassments of raising kids in a world that never stops watching. I am not saying that erases the other criticisms. I am saying it complicates them. Because the Cardi B that some people want to reduce to a caricature, loud, brash, uncontrolled, is also a Cardi B who thinks carefully about what to wear to a 5th grade play. Those two truths can exist at the same time. Now, back to the mess. Because we do not do sanitized around here. The Muka situation deserves a longer look, because everything about it feels rushed. Cardi B and Muka's relationship, if we can even call it that yet, went public within weeks of their first sighting. Reports have them meeting for their first documented date in Venice, Italy, one of the most romantic, most photographed, most cinematically drenched cities on the planet. This is not a Denny's after midnight kind of courtship. This is a private jet, palazzo hotel, gondola through the canals kind of courtship. And Cardi B, whether by accident or by design, has been dropping crumbs across her platforms letting the world know that the vibes are extremely vibing. But here is what I want the fam to sit with. Cardi B is not new to whirlwind. Her marriage to Offset started as a whirlwind. Her rumored dalliance with a certain NFL wide receiver started as a whirlwind. And every single one of those whirlwinds eventually deposited her in the middle of a legal, personal, or reputational storm. This is not a woman with a track record of slow-burn courtships that stabilize into calm marriages. This is a woman who runs hot, burns fast, and has to publicly untangle the ashes in real time. And Muka arrives at her doorstep with a baby mother alleging domestic violence, alleging financial abandonment, alleging that he put her and their child out onto the street. Now, I want to be crystal clear, those are allegations, not verdicts. Muka has not been convicted of anything. In the American legal system, and in the international legal system, an allegation is not a fact until it has been adjudicated. But when Cardi B chooses to publicly link her heart to a man carrying that kind of baggage, she does not get to be surprised when the internet asks her about it. And she will be asked about it. Repeatedly. Loudly. On camera. In interviews. On Twitter Spaces. On radio shows. On every single podcast that has ever booked her. Because that is the tax of being Cardi B in 2026, every private choice becomes a public referendum, and every romantic pivot becomes a chapter in the ongoing serial drama that her fans, her critics, and her detractors have been binge-watching for 8 straight years. Now, let us circle back to Aha, because there is something in that song's origin story that I do not think Cardi B fully spelled out, but that anybody who has been paying attention can read between the lines. When Cardi B said the song was aimed at women who had one up on her because they were with her exes, she was not talking in the abstract. She was talking about specific, real, publicly identified women who have, over the last several years, publicly claimed involvement with the men she has been linked to. Offset's alleged infidelities. Stefon Diggs' alleged multiple simultaneous relationships. Every single one of those situations produced a woman, sometimes multiple women, who publicly claimed a piece of the man Cardi B was with. And instead of clapping back at those women with a diss track, instead of naming them, instead of dragging them into her studio time, Cardi B did something arguably smarter. She wrote a song that says, essentially, I am not going to fight you for a man I already left. I am going to fight you by winning at everything else in my life. That is a level of emotional judo that took her nearly a decade to develop. And it just so happens to double as one of the most commercially bulletproof themes in modern female rap, the ex-girlfriend anthem. Which brings us back to those 4 diamond plaques. Because if you look at the arc of Cardi B's diamond catalog, every single one of them taps into a specific emotional archetype that she has mastered. Bodak Yellow is the underdog becomes boss anthem. I Like It is the cross-cultural crossover anthem. Girls Like You is the pop love anthem. And WAP is the unapologetic female desire anthem. 4 songs, 4 different emotional lanes, 4 diamond certifications. That is not a rapper who got lucky with one hit. That is a rapper who has built a body of work that touches every corner of the American emotional landscape. And now, if the reception matches the intent, might become the 5th pillar, the ex-girlfriend thriving anthem. And if that song hits the numbers that Cardi B's catalog usually hits, we might be sitting here in 18 months talking about her 5th diamond plaque. And no female rapper in the history of the United States would even be in the same zip code as that record. That is why the internet does not know what to do with her right now. Because the same week she is being called a fraud for wearing Old Navy, she is quietly rewriting the record books. The same week she is being questioned about her dating choices, she is publishing the most emotionally intelligent verse of her career. The same week she is being accused of losing cultural relevance, she is anchoring a national ad campaign that is selling out product in real time. Cardi B is not slipping. Cardi B is compounding. And compounding, sweetheart, is the most dangerous thing an artist can do to their doubters. Because compounding does not need a viral moment. Compounding does not need a headline. Compounding just needs time, and Cardi B has plenty of it. Now, I want to talk about something that a lot of commentators are missing, because it is buried under all the noise. Cardi B, during that same launch party live, casually mentioned that she has a new house coming, a new crib, as she put it. Now, a new house from Cardi B is not just a real estate transaction. It is a public statement about her stage of life. When a woman who has spent the last 5 years navigating divorce, custody battles, tour schedules, and public scandal decides to plant new roots, that is a woman who is telling the universe she is ready for stability. Whether Muka is part of that stability or not, whether is the soundtrack to that stability or not, whether the Old Navy check funded that stability or not, the point is that Cardi B is building. She is building a home. She is building a catalog. She is building a legacy. And every single choice she is making right now is a brick in that structure. Compare that to the version of Cardi B the tabloids want to sell you. The tabloid Cardi B is chaotic, unstable, reactive, and stumbling from one man to the next. The real Cardi B, if you actually watch the tape, is executing a multi-front campaign, commercial, romantic, artistic, maternal, and legacy, with the strategic precision of a chess grandmaster who has been thinking 6 moves ahead this entire time. And I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, but what about Muka? What about the allegations? What about the pattern? And you are right to ask those questions. Those questions matter. Those questions deserve honest answers. But those questions do not erase the fact that the same woman being questioned is also the same woman making history in real time. Both things are true. And any honest analysis of Cardi B in this moment has to hold both truths at the same time without collapsing one into the other. Because if we only talk about the wins, we are propagandists. And if we only talk about the losses, we are haters. The truth, as it usually does, lives in the friction between the two. So let me ask you, fam, and I want a real answer in the comments, because I am reading them tonight. Is Cardi B in the middle of the greatest career pivot of her generation? Or is she quietly walking into a personal storm that even 4 diamond plaques cannot shield her from? Or, and this is the answer I am leaning toward, is she doing both at the exact same time, and is that the actual definition of what it looks like to be one of one? Because let me tell you something about being one of one. It is lonely. It is loud. It is watched. It is judged. And it is exhausting. But it is also, when you finally step back and look at it, the most valuable currency any artist can accumulate. Nobody else in the history of American rap can say what Cardi B can say right now. Nobody else has her plaques, her platform, her pain, and her paycheck all in the same trophy case. And whether the internet wants to acknowledge it or not, the record books already have. Now, before I close this out, I have to circle back to the denim, because there is one more layer of this Old Navy story that I do not want to get lost in the shuffle. Old Navy's parent company, Gap Incorporated, has been in the middle of a slow-motion identity crisis for the better part of a decade. Leisure ate their lunch. Fast fashion ate their dinner. And luxury e-commerce ate their weekend brunch. Old Navy needed a resurrection moment, and they bet the entire fall on Cardi B. That is not a small bet. That is a career-defining bet, for both the brand and for her. And the early returns are staggering. The denim collection sold out in less than 24 hours. The campaign videos have been circulating on every algorithm-driven feed for a week straight. The BBL denim conversation has become a global fashion talking point. And the marketing team at Old Navy is right now, in real time, high-fiving each other in a conference room somewhere in San Francisco. Because they did not just buy a celebrity face. They bought a cultural moment. And Cardi B delivered that moment on a silver platter. Which brings us to the final question, the one nobody in the entertainment press is willing to ask out loud, so I will ask it for them. If Cardi B can turn a routine denim campaign into a career-defining marketing event, if she can turn a live-stream rant into a fashion industry indictment, if she can turn a whispered, except one, into a global relationship reveal, if she can turn a Venice date into a paparazzi feeding frenzy, if she can turn a personal breakup song into a cultural moment, and if she can turn a decade of chart records into a plaque that no woman in American rap history has ever held, what exactly is her ceiling? Is there a ceiling? Or has Cardi B, quietly and without permission, dismantled every ceiling the industry ever tried to put over her head? I think she has. I think the ceiling came down when Bodak Yellow hit #1 and never really got rebuilt. I think every single plaque she has earned since then has been the equivalent of her walking into the executive suite of the American music industry and quietly writing her own contract on the wall in permanent marker. And I think the Muka reveal, the BBL denim rant, the aha origin story, and the 4th diamond plaque are all part of the same larger narrative. Cardi B, at the height of her powers, doing whatever she wants, saying whatever she wants, wearing whatever she wants, dating whoever she wants, and printing money the entire time. Now, is that admirable? Or is that terrifying? Is that empowerment? Or is that chaos? Is that a woman living her fullest life? Or is that a woman running headfirst into the next reputational cliff? I genuinely do not know. And I do not think Cardi B knows either. But I know this, every time somebody bets against her, she cashes their check. Every time somebody counts her out, she headlines the next campaign. And every time somebody says her time is up, she wins another award, sells out another collection, drops another verse, and shows up on the timeline looking like she just walked off the cover of a magazine that has not been invented yet. That is not a trend. That is a trajectory. And trajectories, unlike trends, do not need permission from the peanut gallery to keep climbing. So whatever you think about Cardi B this week, whether you love her, whether you side-eye her, whether you cheer her on, whether you clutch your pearls at her, you have to acknowledge one thing. Nobody in modern hip-hop is playing the game the way Cardi B is playing it. Nobody is compounding wins across as many verticals as she is compounding them. And nobody is doing it while raising 4 kids, defending their body on live television, and casually rewriting the history books between denim launches. That is not a rapper. That is a phenomenon. And phenomena, sweetheart, do not fade. They metastasize. So let me leave you with this. If you are a Cardi B fan, this week is a victory lap. If you are a Cardi B critic, this week is a headache. And if you are somewhere in the middle, this week is a case study in what happens when a woman decides that she is going to run her career, her heart, her body, her money, and her legacy entirely on her own terms, with no permission slip from anybody. Love it or hate it, that is what we are watching. That is the show. And the show is not close to being over. Drop a comment and tell me, Cardi B in 2026, is she the greatest female rapper alive, is she the messiest celebrity on the timeline, or is she both at once, and that is exactly the point? I want to hear your loudest opinion, your quietest suspicion, and every single receipt you have been sitting on. Because the next chapter of the Cardi B story is about to drop, and when it does, I want us in the front row together with popcorn, receipts, and the group chat on standby. Until then, keep your eyes on the timeline, keep your notifications on, and keep telling the truth even when the truth is complicated. Because that is what we do here. Fam, I love you. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.